All right, good evening, everybody. Wanted to not keep everyone waiting, so thank you for attending. We'll go ahead and get some of the introductions going, and then we'll get into the presentation in a minute or two. So, good evening. My name is Mike Garcia with the Fairfax County Department of Transportation, and I want to welcome you to this meeting to discuss the Fairfax County Parkway Franconia-Springfield Parkway study with a focus on a future interchange at Franconia-Springfield Parkway and Hampton Creek Way. We had public meetings on the entire Parkway recommendations from Route 7 to Beulah Street and Route 1 last summer, which were the third set of public meetings held for the project. Each round of public meetings was accompanied by a survey, and the results can be found on the project website along with other study materials. We are here tonight to discuss the planned interchange at Hampton Creek Way and other impacts on Lee District commuters, and to hear any comments you may have on the staff recommended improvements. So I want to set a few expectations. Before we begin the meeting, I want to review some guidelines so everyone can participate and get the most out of this meeting. Please note that this session is being recorded and may be shared on social media such as YouTube. We will answer all questions at the end of the presentation. However, you may choose to type your questions into the Q&A box located at the lower right of your screen. Look for the three dots, either at the end of the presentation, or you may submit your questions along the way during the presentation. For people calling into the meeting, we will provide instructions for how to ask your questions at the conclusion of the presentation. You can submit your written comments to the email address that will be provided at the end of the presentation. We ask that you do not use the chat feature to comment or ask questions, as someone may be joining us by phone, and we want to ensure that everyone can equally participate and hear all of the questions. The chat feature is enabled so that you can ask the host for technical assistance only. I would now like to welcome Supervisor Lusk from the Lee District to open up the meeting with some brief remarks. Supervisor Lusk.
Thank you very much, Michael. I'll be very brief here. I want to thank everyone for taking the time to be a part of this discussion here tonight, and I hope that you will feel engaged and share your thoughts on some of the improvements that are being suggested along the Franconia-Springfield Parkway. And I think this intersection issue at Hampton Creek is a very important one, and look forward to working with the community as we make decisions relative to this undertaking. So again, thank you for being a part of this discussion and look forward to hearing your comments. And then lastly, I'll say thank you to the staff. I know this has been an ongoing effort and appreciate the work that's been done to bring this forward. So thank you, and look forward to hearing the comments.
Okay, thank you very much, Supervisor Lusk. I would now like to recognize other FCDOT staff that you may hear from tonight, including our presenter, Tom Burke. We are also joined by Tom Bishani, the Director of the Fairfax County Department of Transportation, Jeff Herman, the Division Chief of the Site Analysis and Transportation Planning Division, Tim Kutz, our host and the person who can help with any technical assistance tonight, and myself, Mike Garcia. I'm the moderator for this evening, and I'm the Chief of the Transportation Planning Section. Tom Burke, the virtual floor is yours. Tom, you're muted.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Good evening, everyone. As Mike mentioned, my name is Thomas Burke. I'm a senior transportation planner with the Fairfax County Department of Transportation. I'm the project manager for the Fairfax County and Franconia-Springfield Parkways long-term alternatives analysis and long-term planning study. Tonight, we're going to speak about what the study was intended to do and how it may or may not impact Lee District and the area surrounding the Franconia-Springfield Parkway and Hampton Creek and Bonnie Mill and Spring Village. The comprehensive plan is a requirement by the state. We need to have one in order to get certain types of funding. It's a guide for planning and decision-making for citizens, elected officials. The comprehensive plan has a transportation element, which is the countywide transportation plan map. You can see that on the right side of the screen. It's a little bit zoomed out because it shows all 400 square miles of Fairfax County, but it includes all kinds of improvements, including roadway widenings, high occupancy vehicle lanes, interchange locations, and enhanced public transportation corridors where public transportation and bicycle and pedestrian elements are to be enhanced and prioritized. So these improvements in the comprehensive plan do not have a schedule. They're not funded. They're very high level, planning level. They have not been engineered or designed. So please do note as we move through this presentation that we're going to be talking about long-term improvements that could take a decade or several decades before they actually come to fruition. So what does the current comprehensive plan show for the Franconia-Springfield Parkway and specifically in the area of Green Springs and Hampton Creek Way? The comprehensive plan actually includes a widening to 8 lanes. It's currently 6 lanes. The comprehensive plan says eventually, in order to accommodate future growth, we are going to need 8 lanes of roadway, and the 7th and 8th lanes to be built are planned currently for high occupancy vehicle lanes. There isn't an interchange currently in the plan for an intersection at Franconia-Springfield Parkway and Hampton Creek Way, or what would be Hampton Creek Way extended. It would also align with Newman Street to the south. This would not be at the location of Bonnie Mill, but we'll talk a little bit more about this in detail a little bit later in the presentation. The Franconia-Springfield Parkway is also planned as an enhanced public transportation corridor. We want to make sure people are getting around on bike and foot, as well as getting to the Franconia-Springfield Metro Rail and BRE station as well. We want people to be able to be mobile and get around and not necessarily rely on their automobiles. Accessory to the interchange would be an extension of Hampton Creek Way from its current terminus to the Franconia-Springfield Parkway, where an interchange would be built. And because the connection to the Bonnie Mill signal would no longer be feasible, we would be cul-de-sacking Spring Village Drive. And again, all of this will require further study and further outreach before these projects would actually be implemented. In terms of our long-term planning study, we did look at approximately 35 miles of corridor. We looked at all of the Fairfax County Parkway from Route 7 to Route 1, and we looked at all of the Franconia-Springfield Parkway from Rolling Road to Beulah Street. We started our study in 2017. We evaluated future conditions using our transportation models. We forecasted travel demand or trips in the future, and then we actually evaluated the operations of how the corridors will operate with the future demand. We determined deficiencies where there are going to be congestion and queuing, which are long lines of traffic. Where is there going to be issues that we need to have our mindset on now, better now than later? We then developed alternative solutions to fix those problems. And we eventually came up with a preferred alternative, which we are in the process of finalizing to take to the Board of Supervisors later this spring. As part of the study, we'll also prioritize these recommendations so that we have an idea of which ones should be ahead of others. So if there's some that are more pertinent, we'll identify those as well before we wrap up our study. One of the great things about our study has been a very large, expansive outreach effort. We've had 3 rounds of outreach. The first 2 included in-person meetings, and all 3 of them, the last one was virtual, all 3 of them had online surveys that were available to the public to take and give their input on things like mitigation strategies. Do you like the idea of widening? Do you like the idea of grade separated interchanges? Would you rather we try to focus on bicycle, pedestrian, and transit? One big question from the fall of 2018 was whether or not we wanted to do express type lanes, and that was a resounding no. So that was a big takeaway from the first round of public outreach. But as we went through the spring of 2019 and the summer of 2020, we drilled down further and further, and we kept the citizens and the stakeholders in the loop, and they were able to provide input to help guide the development of a preferred alternative, which we're moving forward with presently. Big picture, the Franconia-Springfield Parkway does go from Rolling Road to Beulah Street. So it covers a lot more than just the interchange area around Hampton Creekway and Green Springs. But big picture, we need to coordinate our mitigation, our improvements to the Franconia-Springfield Parkway and to the Fairfax County Parkway, as well as countywide, all of the facilities in the county. We need to coordinate all of the improvements that we have in the long-range plan in order to make future development and future growth work and not, grind everything to a halt with congestion and traffic. But this is a picture from Rolling Road to Beulah Street, and you can see we still need some interchange improvements at Rolling Road. The current split where the Franconia-Springfield and Fairfax County Parkways split, that interchange probably needs a little bit more work before we consider it to be fully operational or fully efficient. We have the planned interchange at Hampton Creekway, and we have a planned interchange at Beulah Street at the very end of the Franconia-Springfield Parkway. At I-95, we also are recommending that the HOV or the express lane connections be grade separated so that the Parkway can flow freely. So you wouldn't have to stop if you're on the main line of the Parkway. And if you're getting to and from the express lanes, you wouldn't have to wait so long at the traffic signals. You'd have a more simple traffic signal that would allow people on and off the express lanes in a much more efficient manner. And with that, and the Hampton Creek interchange, we would be able to have free flow traffic from Beulah Street all the way to Whittler's Creek, which is actually west of Rolling Road on the Fairfax County Parkway. So we're slowly but surely trying to create a free flow facility that gets people to and from where they need to go and where they're coming from in a much more efficient manner. So the first thing that I wanted to touch base on was the number of lanes and the high occupancy vehicle lane designation. Those are, as I mentioned, the current comprehensive plan recommends 8 lanes, the 7th and 8th lanes being HOV. We did an extensive analysis to determine whether those HOV lanes would be efficient and utilized. We found that those that did utilize them saw a benefit, buses saw a benefit, but there wasn't enough benefit to the Parkway overall. There was too much demand for what I'm going to call general purpose lanes, the lanes that you don't have to be 2 or 3 plus people in the car to use. So people that are alone in their cars, they use the general purpose lanes. And there was too much demand for travel on the general purpose lanes. So we're actually recommending that the high occupancy vehicle lane recommendations be removed from the comprehensive plan, not only on Franconia-Springfield Parkway, but on much of the Fairfax County Parkway. And as I mentioned earlier, it's planned for 8 lanes. We actually feel that the 6 lanes that the Franconia-Springfield Parkway currently is built at can handle the future demand. So we're actually suggesting or recommending that the comp plan show that the current 6 lanes on the Franconia-Springfield Parkway be maintained in terms of the long-range plan. HOV feeder at I-95, I mentioned before, that allows the traffic on the Parkway to flow freely and the traffic going to and from the express lanes to do so in a more efficient manner. So these are the lane and HOV recommendations from our study. And what a lot of you might be here to be interested in is a planned interchange that is right outside on the Franconia-Springfield Parkway. It's not at the Bonnie Mill Lane, Spring Village Drive traffic signal. It's actually at an area just to the west where there's actually a larger swath of right-of-way that's already publicly owned that could be used for interchange. It would require a extension of Hampton Creek Way.
Hey, Tom, can I interrupt you? Can you forward your slide? Thank you.
Thank you very much. So a lot of what I just said still applies, but the Franconia-Springfield Parkway the interchange was added to the comprehensive plan back in 1991, about 30 years ago, right around the time when the Franconia-Springfield Parkway was being built. It was built in 2 phases. It was built just about to Hampton Creek or Spring Village in 1989, and then it was completed through the I-95 to Beulah in 1992. And right around that time, county planners and officials decided, you know what, we need to put an interchange at Hampton Creek in order to make traffic flow better. The interchange allows traffic, just like at I-95, you get the turning movements to and from the north and south, going to the Green Springs and the Hampton Creek communities, and Newman Street, Bonnie Mill, and all the communities to the south. You get those trips up and off of the Parkway so that the Parkway can flow freely and more efficiently. And again, I mentioned it before, this interchange, it would be a long range plan. It's probably at least 10, I'd say 20, 30 years out. Don't quote me on that because we just don't know until we start prioritizing and funding these types of projects. But before it would be constructed, it would go through a lot more analysis and outreach. There would be plenty of additional opportunities for people to provide more input, and there'll be a lot more drilling down in terms of engineering to determine whether the interchange needs to be at Hampton Creek or shifted. But as you can see from this graphic, there's a large swath of right-of-way, so that's why it's where it's at in the comprehensive plan. Before we leave our study recommendations, I wanted to make sure you knew that we did not leave other modes out. We wanted to make sure that we were addressing the needs of public transportation. And so we did our analysis, and we feel that the 6-lane cross section would sufficiently get buses to and from the Franconia-Springfield Metro Rail station, the VRE station, for example. We actually, the HOV feeder at I-95 should also help a lot in allowing the free flow on the Parkway and also getting buses on and off of I-95. And just as an informational note, there is a planned Fairfax connector route, number 496. It's in the Transit Development Plan, which is a 6-year plan, but it's likely to be looked at a little bit closer when the Silver Line Phase 2 opens up. But it would connect the future Herndon Metro Rail station, which will open up when Silver Line Phase 2 opens, with the Franconia-Springfield Metro Rail / VRE station. So we do have transit in mind for the Fairfax County and Franconia-Springfield Parkways. And then in terms of bike ped, there was a lot of citizens that expressed support for bicycle and pedestrian improvements. They want the Parkway to be more walkable and bikeable. One of the big recommendations from our study is that not only do we connect the gaps, there's only 2 or 3 gaps in the Parkway trail right now, but we need to connect those gaps so that there's consistent trail connections all the way up and down the parkways. And then in addition to that, we want an additional trail or at least a wide sidewalk of some kind on the opposite side. So if you're walking up and down the parkways and the trail is only on one side, some people might actually have to cross a pretty wide facility just to get to the trail. We actually would like the long-term vision for the parkways to show trails on both sides so that to eliminate unnecessary crossings. We think that we also want enhanced connections to regional or adjacent trails. If there's trails that cross the Fairfax and Franconia-Springfield Parkways, we want good connections with those so people can get to other areas of the counties. And we want major crossings of the parkways to be crossable with enhanced crossings as well. We want people to be able to safely get across the parkways when necessary. And I do want to note that the Fairfax County DOT, Department of Transportation, has kicked off its active Fairfax transportation plan effort, where they're looking at bicycle and pedestrian facilities countywide across all 400 square miles. And they'll be updating the bicycle and the trails and bicycle facilities elements of the comprehensive plan. So if you're interested in those things, please contact us and we can show you how to keep in the loop on upcoming effort. Lastly, I just wanted to tell you that our study schedule, like I said, we were finalizing our preferred alternative. We are taking it to the Board Transportation Committee on May 25th of this year, where they will review and have one last look at our results and our findings and our recommendations. We'll likely go to the board sometime in the summer, if not fall, to get endorsement of our study And at the same time, hopefully we'll get an authorization for a comprehensive plan amendment. The first step is to finalize the study. Then the next step is to go into the comprehensive plan and formally amend it to reflect our new recommendations. Some of the old recommendations need to go and be replaced by new ones. So that is a comprehensive plan amendment. And we anticipate wrapping up that comprehensive plan amendment process in 2022. So with that, this is my contact information. Again, I'm the project manager, so please feel free to call me, email me. This is our project website. There's tons of information on what's been what's been going on since 2018 when we started the outreach process. Lots of documents and maps for you to look at. And there's a comment box in there as well. If you'd rather just send in your comment through the website, you can do that. And with that, I'll hand it back to Mike.
All right, thank you, Tom. So now we'd like to open up the meeting for any questions or comments. So I'm going to go over a few instructions for everybody so that we can try to make sure everyone gets the most out of this meeting. So please use the Q&A function to type your question for myself to read aloud. This feature is located at the bottom right of your screen. Please look for the 3 little dots at the lower right corner. That'll help populate the Q&A function for you. Please make sure your questions go to all panelists so that we can all see it. Again, we ask that you do not use the chat feature to comment or ask questions, as someone may be joining us by phone, and we want to ensure that everyone can equally participate and hear all of the questions. We will answer all submitted questions first before taking phone questions. If you are joining us by phone, please push *3 to raise your hand. Again, that's *3, and it'll raise your hand to ask a question. When it is your turn, I will call on you to ask your question, and after you are finished, please push *3 to unraise your hand. After you've asked your question, the host will mute you and put you back in the queue so that we can get to all questions. If you are calling in and you are looking at the presentation on your computer, please move away from your computer to ask your question. Again, let me just restate it again. If you're calling in and you are looking at the presentation on your computer, please move away from the computer to ask your question. It generates feedback and it's hard to kind of understand the question. So that's the reason why we ask. Depending on the amount of questions, we may not be able to address them all tonight. However, we will respond to all questions, and all the questions and answers from today's presentations will be posted on the project website. So with that, if anyone has any questions, please type them into the Q&A feature. Again, that's located at the bottom right. Look for the 3 dots. Thank you. I see our first one coming in. And then again, if you are on the phone and you would like to ask a question, please push *3 to raise your hand. Okay, so here's the first question, and I'm just going to Tom, are you ready? Let's go.
I'm ready.
Is there an update on the plan for widening Rolling Road between the Franconia-Springfield Parkway and Old Keene Mill Road?
I'm not sure. I would have to check on that.
Yes, I can take that one.
Thank you, Tom.
Just give me 1 second here. So that project is, this is Tom Bisciotti. I'm the director of Fairfax County's Department of Transportation. So that project is in 2 phases. The first phase is essentially the intersection improvements at Rolling Road and Old Keene Mill Road. And at that, some of the preliminary construction work is underway right now. They completed right away this summer, and so there is actually some work that's going on right now. That project will run until November of 2021. And then the second phase of that project is Rolling Road from Viola Street to Kenwood Avenue. That's the much longer piece. That is in the right-of-way piece, right-of-way land acquisition right now. That will continue on for a good part of this year. The right-of-way will continue until November. And then at that point, utility relocation will start. And then construction will actually start in July of 2023 and is scheduled to finish in early 2026. I do understand that there are some utility stakes out now that residents may see, and so that may be some of the planning for the utility relocation. But that project won't actually go to construction until you'll see some construction activity starting at the end of 2021 with the utility relocation.
Thank you, Tom. So I'm just looking to see if anybody has any questions. Again, Tom Burke is our project manager, and his contact information is on the screen. And I'll just let you all know that, just a reminder kind of about some of the ways you can find information. Again, you can go to the project website. It's located right there at www.fairfaxcounty.gov/transportation/study/Fairfax-County-Parkway. You can also email us any comments you have. You can email Tom right there, or if you happen to not see this presentation, you can go to dotinfo@fairfaxcounty.gov and make sure you type in what the project name is, and it'll get routed to us. So happy to do that, and you can also call us too at the main line right there, 703-877-5600. So I'll just give it a few more minutes, see if anybody has any questions or comments. I understand that it's probably not always the best form, but please email us, let us know. We're happy to kind of take your questions on the side too, make sure you get all the information that you need. And for everyone who's on the phone or just listening, we do have when we went out to the public last summer, those meetings were recorded and the presentations are on our website. So you can go ahead and, if you want more information about the other recommendations for the entire stretch of the Fairfax County Franconia-Springfield Parkway, yeah, feel free to pull up that and you can kind of see the analysis that we walk through in order to kind of develop the preferred recommendations for the entire parkway. Okay, I'll just give another minute and see if anybody has any questions, and if not, there's one, I'm sorry. So here we go. Will whose road be changed as a result of the proposed intersection?
Whose Road intersects the Fairfax County Parkway. Oh, you're talking about Whose Road. Okay, Whose Road is the kind of the service road or the frontage road along the Parkway, right? We would probably have to, let me go back to that slide.
At Newman.
Yeah, I think this is Whose Road. If you can you see my mouse?
Can see it.
Yeah, so this is Whose Road. I'm sorry, I don't know why I went to Whose Road way over there at the Fairfax County. So as you can see, we were able to put a very highly conceptual, non-engineered footprint of an interchange, kind of a tight diamond interchange, into the current right-of-way, and we did not affect Whose Road. That again is part of the reason that this location at Hampton Creek / Newman would make a good location for the interchanges, because we have it bulbs out, the public right-of-way bulbs out, and we have room to build without affecting Whose Road or any other properties. So I guess to answer your question, I can't say for sure, but our preliminary planning level concepts show that we can construct without affecting Whose Road.
Okay. She says, thanks. You're very much welcome. All right. I'll still give it another 2 minutes to see if anybody has any other questions or comments they'd like to send our way. Okay. Tom, is the long-term goal to have interchanges instead of traffic signals all the way to Route 7?
Like I mentioned earlier, I think the interchanges do afford you that opportunity for free flow and nonstop travel on the parkways. We're very slowly starting to build that. I don't know that we probably will never reach it all the way from Route 7 to Beulah and all the way from Route 7 to Route 1. But the Franconia-Springfield Parkway, there's only 2 signals between Beulah Street and the Fairfax County Parkway. That's at Bonnie Mill and at I-95. So our study is trying to address both of those locations with interchanges, or in the case of I-95, the HOV feeders that we're calling them. We're also working on a long stretch between Route 50 and Fairlakes, all the way down to, I think the first signal would be Roberts Parkway. By removing the signal at Pope's Head Road with an interchange, that's in the works. VDOT, Virginia Department of Transportation, is working on the design and construction of an interchange at Pope's Head Road, which will, and Burke Center Parkway, we're making some modifications. So I know we're kind of creeping outside of your area, but just wanted to say that we are slowly but surely trying to eliminate some signals so that we have long stretches of uninterrupted flow. But big picture, we probably won't accomplish every signal, removing every signal, but we'll try our best to get some long stretches in there.
And I'll also point out that we were looking at the traffic operations along the entire stretch of the Parkway. So if we don't need to remove a signal, or we can make a slight modification to it and not have to put an interchange, I think we're inclined not to do that. But we are looking to make sure, as Thomas said, that we have the entire operation of the entire Parkway being considered when we're looking at the improvements along the intersection improvements along the entire stretch. And again, if you want to see the other recommendations for the other intersections or locations along the Parkway that are north and east and south of this particular location, please visit our project website and pull up the presentation from last summer, and you can get more information. All right, I'll just give it another minute, and if there are no more questions, we'll say thank you to everyone for attending. All right, so while I wait, I'm going to go ahead and just get some of the other information out there so that we have it there as on the recording. So as a reminder, please visit the project website for additional details at www.fairfaxcounty.gov/transportation/study/Fairfax-County-Parkway. The recording of tonight's meeting will also be posted to the project website. You can also email us at dotinfo@fairfaxcounty.gov or call us at 703-877-5600. Finally, you can mail comments to the Fairfax County Department of Transportation, 4050 Legato Road, Suite 400, Fairfax, Virginia, zip 22033. And I wanted to say thank you all very much for participating in tonight's presentation. Thank you, Supervisor Lusk, for attending. And thank you to all presenters, and thank you to attendees for attending. Thank you very much. Have a good night.